this is going to be part 2 of our infertility story. It's more about how we got to where we are today and the 2 amazing, perfect little humans that we have now. I hope that you can find some encouragement in it and some help. Maybe just support. I don't know. I hope you can get something out of it and that it helps you in some way. So let's get into part 2. In February of 2016, was it February that you got your new job?
Yep.
So Isaac got a new position at the same company, and within, the same conversation of getting this job, he was asked...
Well, wait, let me back up just a minute, because this job was like the perfect job for me to apply for, and I was so excited about it. Okay, so I get to the second interview, which is with the hiring manager, who is now my boss, and we go through the interview. The interview is great, and we get to the end of the interview, and she goes, "I noticed you didn't ask about travel." I was like, "Well, no." I said, "I actually had already asked, and I read the job description, and it looks like travel is very minimal, if any." And she's like, "Yep, that's true, that's right. I just wanted to make sure that we had talked about that." Okay, awesome.
I'm thinking, excellent.
Yeah, so
no
Val's
more
like,
travel.
yes, no more traveling, because she hates when I'm gone.
I hated being by myself. I hated it so much.
So, like a week later, maybe, I get a telephone call from the hiring manager, and she says, "So, we'd really like to put you in this position, but as it turns out, we need the person that fills this position to go to Nashville for 12 weeks.
12 weeks.
I was blown over. I was like, wait, hold on.
You just told me I didn't need to do.
You said there was little to no travel for this position, and now you're telling me that you want to pick me for the position on the condition that I can go to Nashville for 12 weeks. So I was like, I am going to have to talk to my wife about this, because I knew she was not going to have it. So she came and met me for lunch, and I explained the whole situation, and she bawled, but she didn't say no. So I was like, okay.
I remember so clearly that conversation.
Bawled.
I was like, no. There was no way. No. 12 weeks? He was going to be gone for 12 weeks?
Meanwhile, as always, it's right at the beginning of our spring musical season.
And it's a serious dance show.
West Side Story. So we have a huge task at choreography for that show.
I actually just moved down the day after we ended our show. We moved down there, and we lived down there for 4 months, I think.
Right.
4 months.
Yep.
And it was the best experience that we've ever had. Like, when we think about it now...
We were living in an apartment on a 3rd story with 3 dogs.
With 3 dogs, yeah. Yeah, it was crazy, but, I mean, we did so many things that we otherwise wouldn't have done. We got to see so much and do so much. And when we think back now, it was the perfect opportunity at the perfect time.
Nashville was definitely the best experience for us. And I think it just kind of let us, like...
Relax.
Not
focus on that.
Yeah, not focus on trying to get pregnant. We were really just focused on trying to explore every nook and cranny of Nashville while we were there.
And you don't get that kind of opportunity every day. No.
It was like a almost free vacation.
Even though you were still working.
Even though I was still working. But we also, because we were in a apartment complex that had a nice little gym and pool area, we started walking initially.
No, I started before we even left.
Oh, that's true.
Like, I started at home.
Yeah, so Val was working out on the treadmill, and we both were starting to try to get much more active. But in Nashville, we had access to this gym all the time, so Val continued, and I started running on the treadmill, and it was something that we did together, and I don't know why, but it kind of seemed fun, which is weird thinking about now, but like we loved getting home from work, getting to the treadmill, and just running. And we both would listen to our music. We used a Run Keeper app that kind of walked us through a little bit more every day, and we were really, really active. And I think
not
that was,
just in the gym and on the treadmills. We did a lot of
everywhere
active, like hikes and like just different things like that.
Yeah, and I think that was something that really helped.
Get pregnant.
You get pregnant. Yeah.
The end of July, I think it was right around our anniversary, like July 22nd, right around there, we found out that I was pregnant. Completely out of the blue, not even trying. I mean, not trying, but not even like actively trying.
We weren't focused on it.
We weren't focused about it. We weren't thinking about it. We were just living our best life in Nashville, and we
had paid to take these adult summer tap classes, which was awesome. We paid like $90 a piece for these classes, and one night she's like, I can't go. It's like, what do you mean you can't go?
He was so mad.
I'm nauseous, I'm gonna be sick. And I'm like, what do you mean you're gonna be
sick? Pull
it
together.
I was like,
we're going.
You're going to the class. I don't care if you throw up. Like, take a barf bag. We paid $90 a piece. We're going to the class. She's not going. I was like, well, I'm going.
So he went without me.
I'm not spending $90 and not going to my freaking class.
Well, I threw up twice that night while he was gone.
I felt really bad.
So I had an inkling because things were off and I was definitely feeling off. And so I took a test and it was pregnant, like 100% clear as day, pregnant. And even though I kind of had an inkling, we were still like shocked. Like 11 years of trying and doing everything and going through all the infertility treatments and all of that, and then out of the blue, I'm just pregnant. And it was crazy. Like, and it was...
The nice part is that we both kind of just knew that it was good.
Yeah, we did.
We both knew that there weren't going to be...
This was a different... Yeah,
it was a different experience.
Like a week after that, we came home from Nashville. We moved back home, and I had my first appointment, and everything was good, and that pregnancy resulted in Sailor. Crazy. Insane.
When we had Sailor,
are you laughing at us?
Yeah, he's talking down here. We probably cried every day. Like,
oh my gosh.
Full on tears, crying every day for at least the first 6 months of her life. Still, we'll have moments where we're like,
well, and I think that's part of like the infertility. Like, we didn't know if we were ever going to have kids, and everything we went through was so hard and so long. And so then she comes out of the blue and she's perfect and healthy and amazing and so smart. And yeah, you can't help but like,
be appreciative.
Yeah. After Sailor, I never wanted her to be an only child, but there's still that in the back of your head, like after going through 11 years of infertility and all the treatments and nothing working, no matter what, that's going to change you. And so I was always worried that Sailor was just like this crazy miracle coincidence and that it wouldn't happen like that again for us. And I didn't want her to be an only child, and we wanted to have a big family. We wanted to have more than one kid. So we decided that we'd start trying again fairly early in case that it took us...
I joked 6 weeks.
Yeah. That wasn't happening.
Her mom also joked 6 weeks.
They were conspiring against me. But...
No, with you. Remember, with you.
Mm-hmm. We wanted to start trying fairly early in case it took a while the second time. We were going to the beach in August, and I wanted to be able to have my margaritas and my wine and not have to worry about it. So I said, when we get back from the beach, we can start trying then. Well, don't you know, a week after we got home from the beach, Huck was conceived. And again, complete shock. Like, I definitely didn't think it was going to be that easy. 2 weeks after we get home for the beach, or 3, I don't know what it was, but we find out we're pregnant with Huck. I was in complete shock, and
she cried when she got a positive pregnancy test, and not because she was like, I'm pregnant.
Awful. It sounds awful, but I thought it was going to take us longer, and I just didn't feel like I was ready yet to be pregnant. Sailor was only 5 months old, and so...
Well, and she felt like she was doing an injustice to Sailor.
That was the hardest part. Oh my gosh.
Which now that he's 3 months old, she is in love with him.
Yeah.
And the best little...
I felt like I was failing her, and that Sailor was never even going to remember a time, that it was just her and I was going to be a terrible mother because I was going to have to focus so much on him, and she was still going to be so small, and it was rough, but we got through it, and now he's here, right? Complete shock and surprise. So I almost feel bad, like, even telling that part of the story, because I feel like I'm cheating on, like, the infertility part. Like, there are so many people, and I get it. Like, we were there, and I can feel for you, but I feel like I'm cheating because we went through all that infertility stuff and none of it worked out well for us, and then just out of the blue, naturally, we have these 2 perfect babies, and I feel like that's so unfair. I'm so grateful, like I'm thankful every day, but there are so many people out there that's not the way that it's going to happen, or that's not the way it's happening for them, and so I feel bad. Like, I feel guilty. It definitely changes you and changes your perspective on everything. I will never, ever ask a couple, when are you having kids? Because that's one of the most hurtful questions that anybody can ask, and it's such a normal and common and, like, totally normal thing to want to know, or, you know what I mean? Like, but
yeah, people don't realize that question is, I mean, you could ask that question and end up with the other person in tears.
Yeah. Like I said in the beginning, we only told a handful of people.
Most of our family does not know this.
No. There are very few people. I think there are probably people that suspected, and even the people, like I said, that we did tell, they don't know everything. Like, they don't know all that we went through and all that we did, or how long we did it for. So you just don't ever know what anybody else is going through, and people that are going through this, I am sorry for you. I feel for you. I'm sending you all the positive thoughts and vibes, and I hope that it works out for you, because I know how it feels. And I'll never take these 2 for granted, ever, because it was so hard to get them. Even if it was naturally, in the end, everything up until then was so hard. So, in the end, it's worth it, but you couldn't have told me that while I was going through it. So, I understand the people that are going through it, and can't believe that right now. I get it. This is going to be less about the story of how we got to where we are and more about how you get through it.
Yeah, so it's really hard, and I think
it's hard for both people. It's hard as a couple, and it's hard in different ways
and it's hard to talk about it with your partner at any given moment in time, because
emotions are so raw.
They are so raw, and usually, not always, but in our circumstances, and I even feel like an ass saying this right now, but the root of the issue was with Val, and that makes Val feel like she's the failure, that she's never going to be able to ... But it's easy for 2 people that are going through something like that to start to resent each other or put up a wall, and you really can't do that. You have to be able to talk about things. And also be hyper aware of what the other person's perspectives are, because you never want to say something or do something or react in a way that makes them feel like it's their fault, because it certainly is not Val's fault.
Of is, but
no, it's not. Stop it. It's not Val's fault at all. And I know that she would have been equally supportive to me if the situation was on my end. But as a husband, in the way that our situation was, so I don't know what your situation is if you happen to be going through the same thing.
That's the thing, is everybody's journey is so different.
So I felt like at times I couldn't get upset about something, or I didn't want to show that I'd get upset about something, because I didn't want to make her feel guilty or feel like it was her fault that I was feeling upset about something. So just being able to really sit back and think about perspectives and what she's going through versus what I'm going through versus what we are going through together.
It's so hard because it is such a, like, obviously it's a journey that you're going through together, and yet at the same time you can feel so alone. Like, I mean, there were times that, and it's definitely kind of like he said, it's not his fault, but there were times at the end when I was going to Rochester like 3 or 4 days a week and I was going by myself, that I did feel so alone because I was doing it on my own. At least that part of it I was doing on my own. And you can start to feel, I don't know if I'd say resentful, but like, well, he should have to be a part of this part too. If I have to do it, then so should he. That kind of thing. It's just, it's hard because all of the emotions are so high. And you definitely do, at least for me, you feel responsible and like it's your fault, because it was my body that wasn't working. And so that's a really hard thing too, because I felt like, I hate this. This is why I don't ever talk about this. I felt like it was going to be my fault that he didn't get to be a dad. And I knew he wanted to be a dad so bad.
You're going to make me cry. I think that's probably the hardest thing to deal with as a couple is, I know that she's feeling like that, and I don't want her to feel like that. That there is not an ounce of me that has ever felt like it's your fault. Not ever, not even for an ounce. But you do have to be hyper aware of people's or each other's emotions and how you're feeling. And when you're getting upset about something, don't speak off the cuff, because
yeah, that's like the worst.
Yeah.
You always say something that you don't actually mean just because emotions are so high.
Yeah, and
so that's never a good idea. Not that it hasn't ever happened, but
of course it's happened, and of course it's going to happen no matter what for anybody. But just be forgiving. Like, understand that it is something that you're going through together, but it's also something that you're going through.
Each of you is going through kind of on your own,
in whole different ways. Neither one of you are going through the same thing at the same time. And I think the one good thing that makes our relationship so strong is that somehow, and I don't know how this works, it just does, but when one of us is super stressed or super upset or is having a attack of anxiety, the other one is
totally
always
chill
sound.
And totally like strong.
I don't know how it works.
I know.
It just does. But
we've never both been completely
no, we've never gone through like a depression at the same time. We've always been there for each other, and I think it just works out naturally for people to be able to get through that, as long as you're in a relationship that you want to be in, which I think and hope we both are. Yeah. Your mascara's running.
I'm sure that my mascara looks awful. I should have just not worn makeup. So, I don't even know. It's so hard to think, like, what would I have wanted to hear when we were going through it? Like, nothing. Like, you don't want to hear anything. You don't want to, because none of the encouraging words mean anything at that time.
I don't think for us it was about what we wanted to hear. I think it's just what we both knew that we wanted to see.
Yeah.
We both always felt at the deepest level that we would have a family someday. No matter, however that might happen.
Yeah. What's the matter even? Like, why are you so upset? In the end, this is what you get. Wouldn't trade him. Mwah. Oh, you didn't like that. Okay, so little man couldn't hang, so he still can't hang. So the idea of not being able to be pregnant myself made me really sad. Like, it was something that I really wanted to experience and always just assumed that I would. So the idea of not being able to have my babies grow inside of me was really sad for me, but I knew that I was going to do whatever I had to do in order to have a family. So if that meant adoption or any of the other options, then I was going to do it. But it's so hard to think about at that time when all you really want is to be pregnant yourself. So I guess one thing that we did, well, we're complete believers in you create your own life, and that during this journey especially is something that's super, super hard to hang on to, because how can you possibly be creating a reality where you're unable to conceive a child that you want so badly? But still, we're big believers in, like, you manifest your own life. Something we've done forever, I think, it seems like it anyway, is that every new year we create a vision board. And every year we would put a baby on it, as well as lots of other things. But I don't know what was so different about the one that we made in 2016, but almost everything that was on that vision board ended up coming to be. And I don't know why that was different. I think it was because we were just focused more on life and living life the way we wanted to live it, and less focused on the absence of a pregnancy and a baby. So, I mean, I know how it's going to sound. See the dog? I know how it's going to sound if you're in the middle of a journey like this. Honestly, I really, really do. But try to focus on what you want, not the absence of what you don't have, if that makes sense. So I hope that whether you're going through an infertility journey or not, you learned something and were able to get something out of this video. That was the whole point. It's not something that I like to talk about, and there are going to be people that see this video that aren't going to have any idea that any of this even happened. But I did it because Isaac kept saying that it would be helpful.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Just a minute. Don't act like I forced you to do this.
No, he didn't force me, but he just kept saying, and he's been saying it for a long time, but that for anybody else going through something like this, it would probably be helpful for somebody to hear. So that's why I decided to do it, and I hope that it is helpful in some way, and that you're able to take something away from it. And I really do hope nothing more than that you're able to get what you want, and that you're able to get your healthy, perfect little babies just like we were so blessed to get. So, if you, I don't want to say enjoyed because I don't know if that's the right word, but if you liked this video and you got something out of it, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel. We have some big things coming soon. So subscribe to our channel so that you can keep up with what's coming next. Make sure your bell notifications are turned on. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.